Guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined in studio with Charles Joyner, mixed martial arts fighter and kickboxing champion. Charles, how are you feeling ahead of your bouts at Cage Warriors 181 this coming Saturday?
Yeah, I feel good. It's fight week and it's that time of the week where, the calories are a bit down and you start lowering the water intake, so the energy goes down a little bit, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited to first and foremost weigh in and then secondly have the fight.
Now, I have heard that your opponent, bizarrely enough, I was going to ask what you make of them, like I ask every fight. So, what do you make of the your opponent, their fight style, as in what's your A game going into the fight? But this guy actually is quite a unique one because you know him, he's your friend. You've sparred with him, trained with him many times before. So it's like you, even on a Saturday night, you know what to expect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I've trained with him loads of times. I've and sparred him loads of times. He used to come and stay at the gym that I used to train at in Liverpool, and we sparred a few times a few years ago. But I mean, we always got on, and we were always, friendly with each other, and we always were supportive of each other's careers. So yeah, it's the first time I've been in this situation, but it's we weren't close enough where I could you would turn down the fight for that reason. But yeah, I think I've he's got there's lots of fights you can watch of him as well. So I've got a pretty good idea of how he's going to come out, and I've got an idea in my head of how the fight's going to play out. So we'll have to see if that happens on Saturday.
Um, you don't feel that maybe this is a fight that maybe I mean, well, going into the fight, the fact that you kind of know your opponent to some extent, did you feel that maybe you should probably not spar or train with him anymore? That maybe you should when he's at the gym, if you train at the same place, probably you should not train at the same time, just so that each of you don't know what the A game of the other opponent is going into the match. So it's like you're not giving too much away.
Yeah, I mean, it. We don't train at the same place now, so it's been a couple of years since we were at the same gym. So that wasn't an issue. But yeah, I mean, I think my style is my style, and there's plenty of fights to watch of me as well. So I think he's probably got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be trying to do. And but yeah. So it was a couple of years ago we trained at the same gym, so it wasn't an issue. But obviously, if we were at the same gym, I think I wouldn't fight anyone from my gym. I don't think. I think that might be a step too far.
Really, is it because a fighter said that to me before in the past? Is it because you think that almost like you're coming from the same team? Do you think it is because going forward it would naturally, undoubtedly make things awkward going forward? Whoever wins or loses.
Yeah, I think you know it would do that, and I mean, there's plenty of people to fight. I'd say probably the only situation where that might happen is when there's you know, if you're at the top of the game, you're number one and two in the world, and there's a lot of money on the line. I think that's probably but then even Aljamain Sterling and Marab, they didn't fight each other when they were number one and two in the world, and there would have been a lot of money on the line, and they chose to preserve their friendship because they trained together. So um, yeah, I just think it's just one of those things that's not commonly done in MMA to fight someone from your own gym, and it is like they're your teammates really. They're part of the family.
Cage Warriors, they always do bring a stacked fight card. Well, I could say at least most of the time they always bring they never leave the fans they always leave the fans entertained on fight night. On this fight card, is there any particular fight besides your own and your teammates fight like Justin Burlinson
Yeah.
that you are kind of looking and anticipating to see?
Um, I always think James Power has really entertaining fights. I think he's an entertaining fighter. I think Mikey Shamal, the Jaguar, who I've done a bit of sparring with. I spar with quite a lot. He's always entertaining because he always his his fights always end in finishes. He's always explosive. I mean, the whole card's stacked. I think George Hardwick's fight, not George, Harry Hardwick's fight will be that'll be entertaining because I think that guy that he's fighting comes out for the knockout. So I mean, I think every fight on that card's going to be entertaining. I think it'll be one of those cards that people look back on in a few years and remember.
Going forward, I mean, I listened to your past interviews. You have said that after this fight, um you do want to actually set your sights on fighting, competing in the UFC. And I mean, you do have, I think, plenty of under your belt. You are a kickboxing champion, and so far in mixed martial arts, I mean, your losses are almost minimal. So can I say you're quite undefeated? So I
Mhm.
mean, going forward, I mean, are you setting your sights in the UFC, at least going on to the bigger, more mainstream promotions out there?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the aim, and I think Yannick's a good name, and he's fought good people. So to get a win over him will show that I'm on the right path. And then I think my style as well, the fact that I'm a striker and I get finishes, and I've been doing it on Cage Warriors as well. I think that they're all good things that I think the UFC will look at, and I think I'm unique as well, like the my size at the weight class. So yeah, I think in 2025 I'll get into the UFC one way or the other.
Look, it is the first time of me speaking with you, Charles, and I've wanted to speak to you for quite a while now. But when you're doing as well as you are, it's very hard to get you to have some time with you because a lot of people are chasing you for your time.
Yeah.
Um, can you give a bit of a background, just your backstory and how you got into combat sports as a whole? Because I know you also, yeah, you're a successful kickboxer, and now you turned your attention to mixed martial arts.
Yeah, yeah. So I got into kickboxing, quite late when I was 20. I was about to turn 21, and I just wanted to do something. I'd started watching a bit of UFC, and I just wanted to do something. Never had any idea that I would fight, but I just wanted to, um, try something new and learn the skill, and obviously just be able to defend myself. And just over time, I felt, I think my frame and my size meant that I was picking it, and I'd always done sports, so I felt like I could pick things up pretty quickly. And then I think just my attributes meant that I was good at it, and I was doing well in sparring, and then I ended up fighting, and then um, I just kept on fighting, and then set bigger goals for myself, turning pro, winning titles. And then I always knew that I wanted to do MMA, and then it sort of was confirmed in my head when I went to UFC Fight Island during COVID in 2020 to corner one of my friends, Tai Tuivasa, and he was fighting on the card when Khabib retired, and just being in that environment and just seeing how the top promotion operates, I just knew that that's where I wanted to fight, and that's what that the MMA was the future for me. So, and I think just in terms of making money and eyes on the sport, I think MMA is you know it's the sport that's growing the most in the world at the moment.
How has fight camp been, and especially if you had to, how's the making weight been? I know that's the hardest aspects of
Mm.
fight camp.
Yeah, camp's been good. I've got loads of good training partners. I've got Mick Parkin, Justin Burlinson, Phil DeFries, Paul Elliott, loads of guys to train with. I went down and got some sparring in with Tom Aspinall, James Webb, Modestus Picasso as well. So I've had loads of great sparring rounds. I've stayed healthy. Uh, the weight cut's okay. It's just that the part of the thing that you have to do. Probably everyone's least favorite part. But last year I was cut into middleweight, so light heavyweight is considerably more fun for me and more manageable. So Yeah, it's been a good training camp. I've had a good year, so I've been active this year, so I've just been piggybacking off of each training camp, and I feel good.
Can you talk a bit about your gym and your team? Because again, when I speak to a fighter that is really really doing well, has got a lot of titles under their name. Just I want to know about the people that they have in their corner, their coaches, sparring partners, and nutritionists, even just the people behind the brand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the main man behind the gym is Andrew Fisher, and in my opinion, he's probably the most one of the most underrated coaches in the world. His MMA knowledge is just unbelievable, and I think in the MMA in this country and in the MMA sphere, people know how good he is, but he's just because he doesn't put himself out there. He's he's probably underappreciated, but he's developed so many people over the course of his career, and he's just constantly getting better as a coach and getting more knowledge. And then you're seeing that now with, some of the young guys he's coached for years coming through and doing really well. Mick Parkin being a good example of that. He's now number 14 ranked in the UFC. So, yeah, and I mean, it all just stems from him, and the culture is a great place. Like, no one takes anyone too seriously. We all have a laugh. Everyone trains hard. People are fighting consistently. So, yeah, and then when you have that sort of environment, it attracts really good people, really good fighters to come and train there as well.
Just moving away from the upcoming fight, but I just want to get your opinion on certain things happening in the world of mixed martial arts. The John Jones and Tom Aspinall situation. I mean, it almost seems as if, I mean, from what I can see from the different snippets, clips, and everything coming through social media, it looks like is that John Jones is trying to almost duck Tom Aspinall or something.
Yeah, I think it looks that way, but I think, in my opinion, I think the fight will happen, and I think John Jones is being really smart in that he's. This is just my opinion, but I think he's negotiating in public, and he's negotiating through his interviews, and he's negotiating through the press conferences so that he can ask. He knows that this is the fight that people want to see now, and Tom's done a good job of selling it, and John's just playing his part in that. He's trying to drive the price up so that he can ask for a big paycheck from the UFC. I think that's what he's doing, because if he just agreed to it straight away, then he doesn't have that bargaining position where he can just drive the price up as high as he likes.
No, definitely. Whenever John Jones is gonna step into the cage, everybody knows they're gonna be in for a very entertaining night from
Yeah,
one side.
100%. And with Tom as well, I think Tom's
Oh yeah.
probably, they're like public executions at the moment with Tom. He's just finishing them so quickly. So
And this is a bit of a controversial one. When it happened this past Saturday, it's like, okay, I'll just say it. The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight.
yeah,
There was, or there still is, I guess, because the fight hasn't taken place not too long ago. But many people thought the fight was fixed, and many people actually thought that the fight should never have happened in the first place.
mm. Yeah. I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? You've got boxing is really struggling compared to MMA, and I think it's obviously the Netflix deal to get that fight on Netflix obviously meant that loads, millions of people watched it, probably many more people than would have previously. But yeah, I mean, realistically, Mike Tyson at pushing 60 years old shouldn't have been in there with Jake Paul, who is like clearly on steroids and all types of performance enhancing drugs. So yeah, I think it's just I was just watching it. I watched like the build up for it for the entertainment value. I watched the highlights in the morning. It sort of played out how I thought it would play out. I think they weren't trying to knock each other out. They were just in it for the payday. And the thing is that Jake Paul's doing a good job of being a marketer and just making loads of money. He knows how to get people talking about him and watching his fights, and it's just making him millions and millions of dollars. So you can't fault him really.
Yeah, because where there's going to be people who love Jake Paul and people who hate Jake Paul. Both
Yeah,
sides are going to tune into the watch.
exactly, exactly.
Would you class him as a professional boxer?
I mean, he's he's fought Mike Tyson now, but he's fought Tommy Fury. I mean, he trains like a professional boxer. He'd beat some professional boxers. Like obviously, boxing's a funny one because you've got half of the fighters are, fighters that are trying to make a career for themselves, and half of the fighters are journeymen. So, he'd beat. There's loads of professional boxers he'd beat. So yeah, I think he's a pro, and he trains like a pro. He's just he's a inexperienced professional boxer that has millions and millions of dollars, so can pay for these, training camps and for everything really. So yeah.
Uh, well, I got what God, I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I can't compare him to someone like yourself because you're a good example of someone who's worked from the ground up right up to the position where you are now. That's the
Mm.
reason why it feels so unfair.
I know, but I under it's like when Conor McGregor was coming up, he understood how to make people tune in and want to watch him fight. So then he got opportunities and made all this money. I think like people, no one respects Jake Paul as a world class boxer, but you've got to respect the niche that he's sort of entertain. He's almost like it's almost like he's in the WWE but doing boxing in a way. But he's making it's impressive what he's doing because he's making these fights that millions of people want to watch, and it results in him making millions of dollars. So I can respect that, and you look at what he's doing and you go, oh well, how can I implement some of that into my own career to try and maximize what I'm doing. But as a fighter, you wouldn't be watching him as a fighter and going, "Oh yeah, I'm going to copy what he's doing as a fighter," because obviously the skill
Mm.
level isn't the same.
Last two questions. Any shout outs you want to give your family, friends, and or your team corners?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously TFT, Andrew Fisher, the coach, all my sparring partners, people like Mick Parkin, Paul Elliott, Justin Burlinson, um, Mikey Jaguar, who I sparred with a lot, the guys down in Wigan at Tom's gym, and then obviously my family, my mum and dad, and my girlfriend Simone, who's going to be in my corner for this one because she's a fighter herself as well. So she helps me out the most. So she's going to be in the corner for this fight. Yeah.
And any though you and him are on good terms, any message you want to send to your opponent?
Just I'll see you in there, and I'm coming to win, so I hope you are too.
Charles, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really, really appreciate it. And look, good luck for Saturday night. I look forward to seeing you in the cage.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave a like on YouTube and leave a subscription. Really helps me when you do that. And also, you can catch the audio versions on Spotify, iTunes, and on Google Podcasts. Charles, once again, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.